The reason we often overlook these micronutrients is because they're required in relatively small amounts compared to the macronutrients. You see, the micronutrients, although needed in small amounts, are absolutely critical to regulating many different cell processes, metabolic pathways, and other physiological needs in our bodies. It is also interesting to know that it is not as rare as you might think to be deficient in one or more of them. In fact, after I analyze the dietary intakes of my clients, I often see deficiencies in at least one of the micronutrients. If a micronutrient deficiency is present for any prolonged period of time, physical symptoms may emerge. And depending on which macronutrient is low in your diet, things like stomach upset, hunger and appetite changes, fatigue, or even changes in your physical appearance may show up. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, I don't really see or hear of anyone walking around with vitamin problems. Well, you're partially correct. We don't usually see many clinical syndromes in the Western culture. However, some experts are quick to point out that despite this fact, cases of suboptimal vitamin status are likely very high. Research has shown that a micronutrient deficiency is associated with becoming overweight or obese. And also it's linked to various cancers, cardiovascular disease, and things like osteoporosis. What's more, many of the most popular diets on the market today are linked to micronutrient deficiencies. So, is it now advised for adults to take at least one multivitamin pill each day? Well, one of the authors of the 2002 study that led to this recommendation said, even people who eat 5 daily servings of fruits and vegetables may not get enough of certain vitamins for optimum health. Most people, for instance, cannot get the healthiest levels of folate and vitamin D and E from recommended diets. Even more evidence shows that just about 80% of Americans do not eat at least 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day, which is a recommended minimum amount believed to provide sufficient essential nutrients. And with the exception of vitamin D, humans cannot synthesize their own vitamins, meaning that we must rely entirely on our food intake to get them. There is no doubt we need to make sure we get adequate amounts of the micronutrients from our foods and supplements. If we don't get them, our performance and our health can go downhill. But adding extra vitamins on top of what we need won't make you healthier or perform better. So how you exercise and live your life can influence your macronutrient status too. The relationship is complex, but by the end of this lecture, you'll have a better grasp on just how many factors affect our micronutrient levels. Another consideration for optimal health and body composition is the amount of water that you consume. You may be amazed at how many important roles water plays in your body and how influential proper water intake can be to improving your body composition, health, and performance. In fact, water is needed for optimal digestion and absorption of the macro and micronutrients and makes up a significant portion of our bodies, over 60%. And even though most people know that they should drink water, it has been reported that nearly 3/4 of Americans don't meet the current recommendations set by the Institute of Medicine. And I'll go into those recommendations in a few minutes. And research also demonstrates that just a 1 to 2% decrease in your total body water, which is very easy to lose, is associated with impaired mental processing, coordination, and a drop in performance. For example, if you weigh 150 pounds or 68 kilograms, then a reduction of body water by just 1.5 to 3 pounds or 0.7 to 1.4 kilograms, measured by body weight, could lead to any of these issues, especially if this continues over a long period of time. A weight change this small could come from simply not drinking enough fluid or not eating foods that have a high water content. It could also occur during exercise, depending on how much you sweat and how hot and humid it is where you exercise. This flux in weight might happen in just one day, especially in women, as fluctuations in body water are often affected by the menstrual cycle. If you learned that you have a micronutrient deficiency from an analysis of your blood and nutrient intake, it's important to look further into the overall quality of your diet. And because of the link between micronutrients and metabolism, it's important to know as much as you possibly can about the micronutrients in order to optimize your own body composition. Likewise, having too little water intake, which is more common than you'd think, can lead to changes in food intake, cell structure, blood volume, and even body composition changes. However, drinking too much water can also be a problem. We'll discuss this more soon. In this lecture, we'll talk about what vitamins and minerals are, some of the more specific roles that vitamins and minerals have in your body, and what foods make up good sources of some of the major micronutrients, and how to recognize both deficiencies and overloading toxicities that can occur with specific micronutrients. You will also learn about the various roles that water plays for the physiological function and how to use water as a tool for feeling and looking your best. So to begin, micronutrients include both vitamins and minerals. Now, they do not directly provide energy, but they do play a big role in energy production. Micronutrients, as the name implies, are needed in only small quantities. So as you might imagine, even small fluctuations of higher or lower intake can have a large impact on body composition, health, and performance. Let's start with vitamins. Vitamins serve many important functions in our bodies and are involved in digestion, absorption, and energy production, antioxidant purposes, and growth. They are regulators of numerous metabolic reactions that release energy from food or help with energy transfer to produce ATP, the energy currency of our bodies. Vitamins are termed organic compounds because they contain carbon, just like all three of the macronutrients, carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Vitamins also act as cofactors or coenzymes, which are required for various interactions in our metabolic pathways. For example, aerobic metabolism requires the shuttling of electrons into the electron transport chain, which is how ATP is made. This shuttling mechanism requires riboflavin and niacin, two water-soluble vitamins, to function properly. For a compound to be considered a vitamin, almost all textbooks will define them like this. Vitamins are natural components of foods, usually present in small amounts. Vitamins are essential for normal physiological function, and vitamins, when absent from the diet, will cause a specific deficiency in that particular vitamin. What this means is that you must get vitamins from the foods you eat. Even if vitamins are a foreign concept to you, you probably have heard of fat-soluble and water-soluble versions of vitamins. Well, vitamins are classified as either fat-soluble or water-soluble, depending on if they dissolve in fat or water. Fat-soluble vitamins include A, D, E, and K. And the body absorbs them from the gastrointestinal tract and stores them in the liver, fatty tissues, and parts of your cells that contain fat, such as the cell membrane. And fat-soluble vitamins move in your blood bound to dietary fat. This means that if fat is not a part of your diet, you will likely have suboptimal fat absorption and may be set up for a fat-soluble vitamin deficiency. Fat-soluble vitamins are not readily excreted and are stored in your fat cells and liver. Now, water-soluble vitamins include B vitamins and vitamin C. These vitamins are also absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract and must be transported in the blood with what are called carrier proteins. Water-soluble vitamins are not stored in large amounts in the body because body water turnover is so constant. They are also easily excreted through urine and a little bit through your sweat. And because they are so easily excreted and not stored, a daily intake of less than 50% of any of the water-soluble vitamins can lead to deficiency in about 4 weeks. That means that if you are missing an entire food group like carbohydrates or fats, which can easily happen if you follow a fad diet, it could be fairly easy to be deficient in some vitamins. You might have noticed I said B vitamins earlier. Note that B vitamins are often called the B complex of vitamins because they comprise many vitamins. You have probably heard of B6 and B12 because they tend to get more press. But actually, the B vitamins include B1, which is thiamine, B2, riboflavin, B3, niacin, B5, pantothenic acid, B6, pyridoxine, B7, biotin, B9, folic acid, and B12, or cobalamin. Together, these make up the B complex, but each serves a specific role in our overall functioning. And by now, you probably have already figured out that anything that affects your metabolism of food is likely to have a big impact on your body composition. Now, as I mentioned, deficiencies and toxicities are possible with vitamins. A deficiency is not enough. A toxicity is too much. So toxicity is not likely to occur from food alone. It's more common when people are taking supplements. So don't take more than the recommended doses of whatever supplements you choose to take. And talk to a professional about what you are taking and how much. Both deficiencies and toxicities are more likely with certain vitamins and minerals than others. Now, fat-soluble vitamins are stored more efficiently in the body. There's less fat turnover compared to water turnover. So vitamin A toxicity is the most common form of a fat-soluble vitamin toxicity because it can occur when intake exceeds just 2 times the needed recommendations. When vitamin A accumulates in the liver, you can have both acute and more chronic outcomes. Headache, rashes, visual changes, bone pain, skin cracking, mouth ulcers, yellowing of the skin, nausea, and vomiting are acute outcomes